Hello, hello. I'm back again to talk about the planets and specifically this upcoming new moon in Gemini. Wow. How's everyone doing after the full moon and then that beautiful conjunction between Venus and Jupiter? A lot of people have been talking about it, and I talked about it in my last video. If you missed it and want to, you know, see what that's all about, then you can go back to my last video, and I talked about it in my full moon video. Um, but now we're past that, and I wonder, did you have a nice experience, like a lot of people were expecting, or was it just kind of nothing? It happened on June 9th, the Jupiter and Venus conjunction. I had a really nice day, actually. I kind of forgot that that conjunction was happening, and I had such a nice day. And then at night, when I could see the planets very clearly out my window, they were very, very close to each other, Venus and Jupiter. And from my perspective, they were held inside of like a branch of a tree that came in kind of like this, and then they were inside of it. That was really cool. Very magical, that was my experience actually for the day. Looking back, it was just such a nice, very kind of like a memorably nice day, if I can say that right. It was memorable for me. I really enjoyed it. Um, Spending time with my family, with my man, and having the day off from work. It all just worked out so nicely, and I didn't have to make anything happen. It just kind of happened for me. So I thought that was nice. Just a little thing about my life. But we'll get back to the upcoming lunation, which is going to be the new moon in Gemini. It will be on June 14th, 2026, happening at 7:54 Pacific PM Pacific. And I should share the chart so that we can see what I'm talking about. Hmm. Yes. Okay. So here we have the new moon. It is at 24 degrees of Gemini. And I really like new moons because they are a seeding lunation. We are, we love looking at the full moon, but I always bring it back to the new moon because this is where we get a chance to seed something, an idea, uh, or just to watch something unfold from the beginning. And this is the beginning moment of the new lunar cycle. And so in Gemini, and this is about Gemini season, and all of the new moons that we've been having this year have been towards the end of the season. And so it's like we have a delayed seeding. moment, little delayed seeding event for all of these new moons this year so far. And it feels like this is a way to explain how lunar cycles can be even longer than just 1 month at a time. And so this lunar cycle, starting in Gemini, will actually finish up in Sagittarius season. We'll have the full moon that's coming next, and it will be a part of the next uh, axis. It'll be a part of the axis between Cancer and Capricorn. So this year, especially, we are looking at being patient for these new moons to really play out the actual seeding event of the new moon to play out. It's not quick and easy cycles this year. We're not really doing that. We are looking at, I just have to do this real quick. Okay. We're looking at having these new moons at the end of like for example, right now we're having this new moon at the end of Gemini season, not the very end, but we'll be moving into Cancer, the season of Cancer, very soon. After this, only in 14, 15, 6 days, so just shy of a week. Um, so really, when we're talking about the energies of these new moons, month by month, we have been looking at a future that's going to be a little bit further down the road. I know I already said that, yeah. And this specific new moon, I feel, is a great catalyst into wrapping up Jupiter in Cancer. And I'll make the connections as I talk. But that is one of the things that I'm feeling is that this new moon, we're having hopes, wishes, dreams, that we are wanting to manifest for our family, for our security, and for lots of different reasons that are very Cancer related because the ruler of this new moon is in Cancer. It's Mercury. And so Mercury, even though it's not exactly right next to Jupiter, Mercury will get closer to Jupiter before going retrograde. So we'll have Mercury retrograde in Cancer coming up. And this new moon is really signaling the beginning stages of what is going to be playing out through that Mercury retrograde. And, Gemini energies are very playful and curious. Um, and being in Cancer, all of that playfulness and curiousness is being applied to the home and family realm. And one of the things about Mercury and Cancer, hmm, is that in order to have a healthy expression of Mercury in Cancer, uh, you really must be present and in the moment because that's really what uh, Cancer is asking of us continually is to be more in the moment, present, because this is where we spend time with our loved ones, with our family, and we really have to slow down in order to touch base with that. Let's see. I'm just trying to think if there's a better way to say that because Mercury in Cancer, people talk, astrologers talk about it as though that's problematic. And I really feel like this this Gemini season has really been about us digging into our ancestry and looking into, being curious about where we come from. Um, a lot of information coming out, news, has been, in a way, circling around the issues of home and like where we come from. Even the unclassified stuff coming out about UFOs. This is another way, in a roundabout way, of talking about where we come from. Because we come from here, and they come from somewhere else. And we are in the process right now as people of really defining more of what it means to come from here, meaning Earth, which means that there is a unity aspect to humanity that is waiting to break through. And in order for that unity to have a breakthrough, first we have to feel the separateness. And Gemini is notorious for being about two things. The glyph, Gemini glyph is the Roman numeral two. It is about having, you know, two personalities sometimes. Some people call the sign of Gemini two-faced. But all of this really is just a reaction to the playfulness and the curiosity that Gemini beholds. Because in order to be truly curious about something, you're going to want to see it from both sides or all sides. And that might be why sometimes the Gemini energy is considered flippant, right? Casual, not really committed to one side or the other, because the Gemini energy has this very special ability to see things from both sides. And that can be, um, on the inside of that Gemini energy, it seems normal. It seems very normal to be curious about everything and to learn as much as you can about everything from all sides. It just seems very innocent. And that's the way I see this energy, is there's a certain sort of innocence in curiosity coming out. And this is a a seeded event because it's the new moon. So this is a seeding event. This is where inside of all of our psyches, it's not really happening externally, it's happening on the inside of us. That this Gemini energy, especially with the ruler in Cancer, Cancer is, oh, wants to be family, wants to nurture, provide, um, comfort, secure. There's a lot of ways that Cancer nurtures. And with Mercury in Cancer, this nurturing aspect is going to be through the mind, through information, but it will be very like mental. And this upcoming Mercury retrograde, that this new moon is really um ushering us into that because the day after the new moon, Mercury slows down. And Mercury is currently in the shadow of the retrograde, which just means that Mercury is in the degrees that Mercury will go back over. So Mercury will be going retrograde on June 29th at 25 degrees of Cancer, and it will go back to 16 degrees of Cancer and turn direct on July 23rd. So we have Mercury retrograde from June 29th to July 23rd. And if you have anything in those degrees of Cancer, but not just Cancer, but also Capricorn, Aries, and Libra, you'll be directly experiencing this retrograde in a way it might be hard emotionally, and it's going to be very internal. It's going to be very internal. And I just wanted to go over a little bit of the retrograde while I'm doing this video because I might not have enough time to do a separate retrograde video. So that, this upcoming Mercury retrograde, it's going to be very mental, emotional, like the emotions that just are inside of you and the stories that will come up that are related to these emotions they're coming up because you need to see the other side. It's not like you have to. I mean, you cannot and just um experience that story the same way over and over again. But sometimes, in order to heal, maybe you need to put yourself in the other person's shoes. Maybe you're the one, because basically, that's all that we can do is be the one. And, that might be a big theme coming up for this new moon. It's one of the things that I've intuited about the archetype of Gemini with regards to the two people, two personalities, that kind of thing, with the Gemini, the twins, is that ultimately this new moon is going to be about looking in the mirror and looking at your own reflection and finding out where your reflection and how you can do better by looking at yourself more clearly. And, you know, the idea that emotions are going to get in the way is very clearly stated here in this chart. So emotions might be getting in the way of you being able to see yourself clearly as you metaphorically look in the mirror during this time. So, and one of the things to consider when we're looking in the mirror and we're looking and thinking about the Gemini archetype for this new moon is that Gemini is the trickster magician, which means that, are you the trickster or is somebody else the trickster? Do you embody the trickster or do you bring the trickster into your life? And this is one of the interesting themes that might be coming up. Um, Gemini, the archetype. Let's see. What else? The shapeshifter. I believe that we will probably get a peek into the the conspiracy of shapeshifting. We'll probably revisit that because that is another archetype of Gemini. So, shapeshifting, the cosmic joker, and that's kind of implied when we talk about the trickster magician, and the storyteller, the entertainer, jester, clown. This is something to think about during this time, is that throughout history, humanity has a really hard time with truth. Our egos, we don't like any kind of truth that might be confrontational, but we can stomach it if it's wrapped up in entertainment and jokes and laughter and comedy. And so that's something to keep an eye out for is some major truth bombs coming out wrapped in comedy. Mm, I think that that's going to be something that is, you know, good to look at because we might get a little bit confused. That trickster energy, right? It's coming in and it's not like we have to take everything serious and be like, oh, the trickster's trying to get me and truth through comedy. It's like, what if we let go a little bit and just listen to the stories and what they're trying to tell us and see if we can figure out where where our emotions are trying to be generated from, right? Because some news cycles tend to be all about generating emotions. And we've seen a lot of that. So it's not like this is new, but this is something that might be that certain people can wake up to right now and see more clearly. Um, we do have Uranus in Gemini right now. And Uranus will be there and be affecting the Gemini archetype. And so when I talk about these archetypes, themes, symbols, they're going to be very active for a while. And so, yeah, um, that's going to be something that we're just going to be getting more used to is the idea of these very spontaneous Gemini energies coming through with shocking information. I mean, it's kind of just been that, like a lot of that lately. I mean, Gemini season has been a lot of, uh, I think that people are feeling numb though with all of this, with everything going on. That's one of the things that I wanted to also talk about was that Chiron is also coming into Taurus on June 19th. So just a few days after this new moon, we've got Chiron coming into Taurus. And that's a whole new, it's going to be a whole new feeling with regards to our wounds, um, the types of wounds that come up and the types of things that we're going to have to go through in order to heal things that have been affecting us since the 1970s, ultimately. Because the last time that Chiron was in Taurus was in the 1970s. Chiron was actually discovered in the 1970s in Taurus. So Chiron is coming up on its own return of discovery. This is major. This is huge. I'll probably eventually make its own video for this because it will be going into Taurus for a while and then leaving, I think, in September. I don't have that written down, but I think I remember that it is leaving to go back into Aries, the retrograde, this September. So we'll have the rest of the summer with Chiron in Taurus. And it's going to be very apparent that it's about our resources, that we have wounds around our resources, and that we have been possibly too, uh, what is the word? Like flippant, careless. We've taken our resources for granted for sure. And I work for Walmart. There's no hiding that fact from me, from anybody who works in retail, but especially in grocery. Um, our food supply is in a nightmare situation. It just is. And if you don't know that, then you're going to find out with Chiron in Taurus. These things come up though because they need to be fixed. Things need to be healed, things need to be addressed. And so we can't just keep going through the dark the way that we have been. We can't be so disrespectful of the earth that we live on. And I've talked about it before, but Sedna the asteroid Sedna here at the, first degrees of Gemini going along with Uranus is um she is going to be speaking through Uranus, and Uranus is going to be giving us information about our natural resources, the state of our natural resources, because Sedna knows, Sedna's upset. There's no doubt about it. There's a lot of upset in the natural world because humans have been overstepping our boundaries. And the things that will be coming through, things that we'll be experiencing, because, well, the time has come for us to wake up to this, another awakening moment. When Chiron was discovered, suddenly we in the Western world had things like environmentalism. We wanted to save the whales for some reason. I wonder what happened to that. Sedna wants to know. Sedna wants to know what happened to humans wanting to save the whales. These are themes that are going to be coming back up because we live in the matrix of patterns, cycles, rhythms. This is what happens. It's a spiral. So we come back around to where we were before. And I wasn't born yet. I was born the year that Chiron was discovered, but a little bit later. No, earlier. I was born earlier. Chiron was discovered later. That's how it is. So I'm coming up on my own Chiron return, as well as Chiron coming up on its discovery return. And this is going to be an important moment for those of us with Chiron in Taurus. We are definitely connected to what is coming next. And I know I've gone off on a whole tangent here with Chiron. So, but it's because of the messages, because Gemini is about messages, communication. The messages and the communications that have been coming through from the earth want to be heard, and especially from the water. And that is why Mercury in Cancer is highlighted right now. It's because there's going to be communication about our environment, about our earth, the state of the earth coming through water, through, not just ocean, but lakes, rivers, all the bodies of water. And there's going to be something to that. And throughout the Mercury retrograde, that will be also what's coming through. Because ultimately, this earth is all of our home. And we've been, this year that Jupiter has been in Cancer, we have all been thinking about internalizing the thoughts of what is home? Where do I come from? Where do we all come from? What does that mean for everybody? And where do we all belong? And with Mercury coming through Cancer, There's going to be a lot of questions that are going to be answered throughout the Mercury retrograde, um, that have to do with this. Where do we come from? Where do we go from here? One of the wonderful things about the Gemini energy is that it can really be about connecting with the creative muse. And we see it when like comedians or actors, um, even musicians, they do improvisational, whatever, right? Whatever comes out. And that is really connecting with the creative muse. This is very, very good Gemini energy because we really don't know what is coming next. And that is part of what drives Gemini forward is what's next, the curiosity of what's next. So, you know, we keep going, we keep looking, we keep researching, we keep taking in information. And that's what Gemini loves to do. And so this new moon, you might feel very comforted by taking in information, especially about where you come from and where you're going to next. And where do you feel like your next moves are for you and your family? Um, another another thing about Gemini energy that is important to talk about for this new moon is that Gemini is about transportation and traveling. And not just traveling in the way that like you have your home and then you go on vacation and you come back to your home, but traveling as a lifestyle. And so y- there may be people getting the message again, to go out on the road, to sell it all and just get out on the road and experience life in a traveling lifestyle. And this is the this is really the heritage. This is where Gemini really got its archetype from, is the idea of the traveling storyteller, the traveling entertainer, um, that essentially has no home, but everywhere is their home. Because everywhere they go, they entertain, they make people laugh, the people love them, and it's like this feel-good thing, and they go from town to town. And this is uh, one of the things to think about when we're talking about the archetype of Gemini, what is possibly coming up and coming through us, what is being seeded in us for this Gemini new moon. And I think it's an important message to pay attention to, that if something is telling you that you need to experience that traveling lifestyle, that now's a good time. to start making moves on that, because the people who endeavor to experience the traveling lifestyle, they come to understand and know better the state of the environment that the earth is in, the state of earth, because as you travel from town to town, you'll be able to see all the little things that add up to what the world is really, what the world consists of truly. And it's all the little things, all the little dots, all the little places that get visited that makes up the bigger picture. And this is something that is calling to a lot of people lately. And before humans decided to settle down and have homes and never leave them, we were all nomadic. And so it is very important if this is actually calling to you, because it is possibly your ancestors asking you to please have the experience while you're here. Please, right? It is in an effort, this traveling lifestyle is really in an effort to have an expanded awareness as to how the divine is operating on Earth, because you get to go around and experience all of the little ways that the divine is operating, and you get the bigger picture. So, yeah, it is definitely a calling. A lot of people are answering that call. It might be calling to you. And it's not it's nothing to be ashamed of, right? Not having a home base, because it's something that our culture has sort of decided that, oh, well, you have to have a home base, you have to have a home, otherwise you're homeless, right? Right? But this new moon and the energies of Mercury, the energies of Gemini are really about being curious about what is the other side of something. You know, what is the other side of having a home? What is the other side of not having a home? For an equal amount of people, the calling to actually get inside of a home is happening also. And this is just as equally as important, because it's all based on Mercury being in Cancer and giving the right message to the right person. So all of us individually are getting messages about our living situation, and that's what this new moon is probably going to be really making you think about, as your living situation and security, and how to secure something, and how to have freedom and security at the same time. And that's a very interesting edge to be on. Yeah. So yeah. And just to kind of quickly go over some of the shadow aspects of Gemini to where you know that you're out of balance or um, could maybe just use a little bit of caution if you're experiencing being like too scattered. That's one of the things. The shadow side of Gemini is being too scatterbrained, being too mental, like too stuck in the mind. I think this is probably one of the reasons why people are being called to have a traveling lifestyle is because they're realizing that they're stuck in their mind and they believe that they're stuck in their mind because they're stuck inside, We're stuck in a loop. Something has to break it free. And a lot of people are trying to figure out how to break free from their mental loops. And so this is, probably something that's going to be coming up. Um, Being passive aggressive is a Gemini thing because it's like, you're going to be um, using your wit instead of just being blunt, outright. Um, so yeah, being passive aggressive is probably not a good way to handle how you feel. And a big thing about uh right now, especially with having Mercury in Cancer, is that you don't want to find yourself not valuing emotions. Because emotions are very valuable. That's one of the things that we came here to experience. And Gemini can kind of not value emotions enough. Um, so, in a shadow aspect. So it's okay to have emotions, and it's okay if you think that they're important, right? And lastly, one of the things about Gemini behavior that is in the shadow realm is inappropriate humor. Basically, just plain old bad jokes. And you know when you're doing it. You know, you know. And so if you feel like that's what is coming out of you and what you're doing, then try to get outside. Try to take a bath, even get into some water. Just break that routine, break some habits that aren't good for you. And don't tell the bad joke. Just decide to not because you know it's a bad joke. You know it is. Okay. Well, I think that wraps it up. I'm pretty sure. Oh yeah, I wanted to draw a card. I I love this new tarot deck that I got. It's Wee Moon. Let's see. I'm gonna stop sharing this. Okay, there we go. So now we can see Wee Moon Tarot. This is the booklet, and it's 40 years of Wee Moon. That's the tarot deck that is celebrating, and let's see, the back of all the cards are like this. This is kind of upside down, I guess. It's like this. It's really cool. But I wanted to draw a card because, yeah. Did I mention that Mercury and Gemini is it's the Fool card, which is the very first card of tarot, which represents, you know, the hero, the journeyer, the uh, questioner. So, isn't that interesting? That this new moon is really about setting off on some new journey. Here we go. Tra la la. All right. That's what the Fool card always says to me. It's like, well, here we go. This is, yeah, on a new adventure, whether you like it or not, right? Okay, let's see what we got. Hmm. Hmm. I pulled I don't know if you can see it. Fire Priestess Mother. Oh, I wish I could get it to focus better. It's really cool. The Fire Priestess Mother, she is tending the hearth and she's got a spear, which is interesting because I know that that is related to the Fool card, that he has a pole, right, with his little sack of goodies that he's taking with him. But that pole is representative of ancient society. Just say that ancient stuff. And she has her spear in this, that, and the fire. And I really wish that I could get it to focus. That's fine. The fire priestess mother. Um, plus I really like the um the things that they say in their little booklet here with the, you know, tarot. Um, Priestess of the Hearth is at the altar of the heart, tending the sacred flame of spirit in the womb of creation, like a pregnant woman attending to new life growing inside her. Very much new moon, yes. A mother cooking over fire, a welder bending metal with flames, a witch stirring her cauldron, herbalists, healers, alchemists, EMTs, caregivers, artists, ecologists, climatologists, mixing the right ingredients of their crafts. Whether you are engineering a project, facilitating a ritual, lighting a candle, or smudging and warming your living space, you bring spirit into form through the portal of your own body, mind, heart, and soul, creating new life. Priestess Mother, the whole process of creation from beginning to end. Yeah, it's very much like all the stuff I was talking about. And I feel like this is very, like, this is the beginnings of Chiron going into Taurus. Chiron being so long in Aries is bringing that fire energy into the earth, and will be a lot of creation energy going on, and it will be it'll be coming from our wounds, yes, but I believe that we'll be able to see that we can create beautiful things still, even though we're wounded, imperfect, just regular people, human beings. But we're also here in a magical way to take care of the earth, take care of ourselves and each other. Yeah, I think that's a beautiful way to end this. And I hope everybody has a wonderful new moon in Gemini. And I will see all you back again for the full moon that comes next. Mm. Okay, bye.
Mm.